Most people think they're stuck because they're missing something. More confidence, more discipline, more motivation, more information. That's the lie that keeps them in place. You don't stay trapped because you're weak. You stay trapped because the system doesn't require strength anymore. It only requires compliance. And the most dangerous part is this. You don't feel trapped. You feel busy, busy enough to believe you're progressing, busy enough to stay hopeful, busy enough to never stop and ask the one question that matters: what am I actually being trained to do? Because the system isn't built to crush you. That would cause resistance. It's built to shape you quietly until your default behavior benefits it more than it benefits you. That's what this video is about. Not motivation, not hustle, not escape the matrix nonsense. This is about how the system trains people to stay exactly where they are without force, and why smart people fall for it every day. Let's start with something uncomfortable. If the system truly wanted to keep you down, it wouldn't restrict you. It would reward you just enough to stay. And that's exactly what it does. You're allowed to make progress, just not the kind that changes your leverage. You're allowed to work harder. You're allowed to learn more. You're allowed to grind. You're just not allowed to step outside the role you've been assigned. So instead of locking the door, the system does something far more effective. It teaches you to police yourself. Think about how success is framed. You're told success is stability, consistency, predictability, being responsible, playing the long game. All good things, until you realize they're also the traits of someone who never disrupts anything. The system doesn't need rebels, it needs reliable operators, people who show up, people who try harder when things don't work, people who blame themselves instead of the structure. That's the key. The moment you believe the problem is you, the system no longer has to defend itself. This is why the most dangerous mindset isn't laziness. It's earned obedience. You followed the rules. You worked hard. You improved yourself. You did what you were told. And when the results didn't match the promise, you didn't rebel. You doubled down. More effort, more hours, more self-discipline, more patience. That's not failure. That's training completion. Here's something most people never realize. The system doesn't care if you're unhappy. It only cares if you're predictable. As long as you wake up tomorrow and repeat the loop, everything is working. And the loop looks like this. You work, you consume, you self-improve, you feel behind, you work harder. Notice something. At no point in that loop do you gain leverage. You only gain tolerance. Tolerance for stress, tolerance for disappointment, tolerance for staying. This is why burnout is misunderstood. Burnout isn't exhaustion. Burnout is clarity trying to surface. It's the moment your nervous system realizes this effort isn't changing my position. So what does the system offer when that happens? Rest, self-care, mindfulness, a vacation, just enough relief to send you back into the same structure. Because a fully rested worker is still a worker. Now let's talk about intelligence, because this part matters. Smart people don't escape faster, they stay longer. Why? Because intelligence makes the system feel fair. Smart people can rationalize anything. They can explain why the grind makes sense, why sacrifice is noble, why it's just a timing issue, why they're almost there. Intelligence doesn't free you, it helps you cope. And coping is the system's favorite outcome. Here's the quiet truth. If effort alone created freedom, most people would already be free. But effort without leverage only creates efficiency. And efficient people are incredibly valuable to the system. Let's break down how the training actually happens. First, you're taught that safety is the highest priority. Stable income, stable routine, stable identity. Then you're taught that risk is irresponsible. Not strategically risky, personally risky. You're told, be smart. Don't jeopardize what you have. Play it safe until later. Later never comes. Because the longer you stay stable, the more you have to lose, and fear compounds. Next, you're trained to equate effort with worth. If you're tired, you must be doing something right. If you're overwhelmed, you must be important. If you're stressed, you must be progressing. So when you finally stop and feel empty, you don't question the system, you question yourself. Why am I ungrateful? Oh, why can't I just be satisfied? Why does everyone else seem fine? That's isolation by design. Then comes the most subtle phase of training. You're taught to delay dissatisfaction. Just get through this year. Just hit this milestone. Just wait until things settle. But the structure never settles. The goalposts move. The expectations rise. The cost of living increases. The pressure normalizes, and you adapt. Adaptation feels like maturity. In reality, it's compliance. Here's the uncomfortable part most people avoid. The system doesn't need to stop you from leaving. It just needs to make leaving feel illogical. And it does this by convincing you that you don't know enough yet, you need more preparation. You should wait for the right moment. Preparation becomes procrastination with a badge of honor. Let's talk about motivation. Motivation is marketed as the solution, but motivation is fuel, not direction. If the direction is wrong, more fuel just gets you lost faster. This is why motivated people burn out harder, they push longer, they tolerate more, they break deeper, and when they finally stop, they feel like failures, not survivors. Here's a truth that cuts through everything. Freedom doesn't come from trying harder, it comes from changing what effort is applied to. The system never tells you this, because once you understand leverage, effort becomes optional. An optional effort breaks the model. So what is leverage? Leverage is when one decision affects many outcomes. One action compounds without more time. One asset works while you don't. The system discourages this subtly. It labels leverage as risky, unrealistic, too good to be true. Yet the system itself runs entirely on leverage. Corporations use it, governments use it, platforms use it, only individuals are told to avoid it. Now ask yourself something honestly. How much of your daily effort actually compounds? Not how busy you are, not how tired you feel. How much of it produces future results without repeated labor? If the answer is almost none, you're not behind. You're exactly where the system expects you to be. This is why the system glorifies consistency over positioning. Consistency keeps you predictable. Positioning changes the game. And positioning is dangerous because it makes you hard to control. Let's talk about identity. The system doesn't just control behavior, it controls self-image. You're taught to identify as your job, your role, your responsibilities. So leaving doesn't feel like a strategy. It feels like betrayal. Betrayal of your past effort, betrayal of people who depend on you, betrayal of the story you've been telling yourself. That emotional weight keeps most people locked in place. Notice something else. The system rewards visible effort more than actual progress. Meetings, emails, updates, metrics, all signals of movement without movement. Real leverage is quiet, unimpressive at first, often invisible, so it's discouraged. Here's the final layer of training, and this is the most important. You're taught that questioning the system makes you bitter. If you're dissatisfied, you're negative. If you see patterns, you're cynical. If you want more control, you're entitled. So people learn to silence their instincts, and instincts are the only thing that ever points toward freedom. Now let's flip the frame. Escaping the system doesn't mean quitting your job. It doesn't mean rebellion. It doesn't mean burning bridges. It means stopping the automatic behaviors the system trained into you, like measuring success by effort instead of outcome, waiting for permission to reposition, assuming stability equals safety, believing patience alone creates leverage. Those beliefs are invisible chains. Here's the quiet truth. The system doesn't collapse when people leave. It collapses when people stop feeding it their best energy, when effort goes toward ownership, when learning goes toward leverage, when time goes toward assets. That's what's actually discouraged. Most people don't need a new plan. They need to unlearn obedience, unlearn the reflex to grind, unlearn the guilt around rest, unlearn the fear of asymmetric bets. Unlearning feels dangerous because it removes the rails. But rails were never freedom. They were containment. This video feels uncomfortable, that's good. Discomfort means the training is being interrupted. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not behind. You've just been trained extremely well. The moment you see that, you stop blaming yourself. And when self-blame ends, real strategy begins. Here's the final thought, and this matters. The system doesn't fear your anger. It fears your clarity. Angry people still react. Clear people reposition. And repositioning changes everything. If you want the exact framework I use to break out of effort-based traps and build leverage step by step, it's laid out cleanly in the Money Logic Playbook. No hype, no motivation, just the operating system. Link is in the description. And remember, the system doesn't trap you, it trains you. The moment you see the training, you can choose something else.